Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be learning how to do the volume. We have a volume of a cylinder that we're going to start with. Let's just look at the formula. The formula is V equals big B H. Everybody remember what big B stands for? That's the area to base. Okay, if you look at this right here, this is the radius. Let's just review the radius of a circle. Is a distance from the center out to any point on the circle. A diameter is from one point on the circle to the other end of this, another point on the circle as long as it passes through the center. So this is the area of the base, and as you see, we have a circle there. So we will be using the formula for a circle. This is the height, and even if it's laying down, this is also the height. So let's go ahead and get started. Right here, we're going to start with this one. So let's identify what we need, our variables. My height is what? 12. That's right here. And big B, area to base. These are my bases. And if you look at your formula chart, you'll look on the formula, area of a circle is pi r squared. So in this case, you guys do have your calculator, so you have a pi button, and you also know how to use the caret to get the exponent. So let's go ahead and just fill in the information that we need. My r is going to be 5. We have v equals big B h. My big B is pi r squared, and then we have the h. Now we're just going to substitute the values for each variable. The pi, we don't need to substitute. You have the key for that. The r, what we say, is 5. If you look right here, here's my radius. So we have 5 squared. I'm putting parentheses around these because this is it needs to be multiplied when you have variables next to each other. And the h is 12. So if you plug that in your calculator, you should come out with, I'm sorry, it looks like I did something wrong. I have mine as 10 instead of 12. Let's go ahead and do that. Pi times 5 squared times 12 gives me 942.478 inches cubed. Cubed because we have its volume 3 dimensions. We're going to round this to 2 digits to the hundreds place. So if we look right here, that's my hundreds. 5 or more, add 1 more, so we'll end up with 942.48. So we had to bubble it in. That is what we would have. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. And let's do the next one. This one's laying down, but we still have the same variables that we had before. The height is 3. Big B, area to base. Again, we have the same formula, pi r squared. However, be careful on this one. This one's a tricky one. What is my r? R is not 4. R is the distance from the center to any point on the line. So it's half of this. This whole thing was 4. So in this case, my radius is 2 because we would have 2 and 2 would give us the 4. So be careful on here. The radius is 2. So let's go ahead and use our formula. V equals big B h. I'm going to write pi r squared for my big B, which is the area of the circle. And then we have my h. And now we can just plug in or substitute the values in for our variables. We have pi. My r is 2. And we have 2 squared. My height, even though it's laying down, is 3. And we multiply that all out on your calculator. You should get, I'll give you time while I'm doing mine. Pi times 2 squared times 3 gives me 37.6991. And we have feet cubed. If I want to round that to the hundredths place, what do I have? It's my hundredths, 5 or more, and 1 more, which makes that 0. So we have 37.0 cubic feet. And that's what we should get for this one. All right, moving on. These are cylinders. And now we're going to move on to what we have, which are cones. Again, let's just review real quick. We have the radius, which is from the center out, and then this is the height laying down if it's this way. We also have the diameter, which is all the way across, as long as it goes to the center, and this is the height. The formula here is a little bit different. If you see it right here, it's 1/3 big B. 1/3 big BH. So let's go ahead and identify our variables that we have. If you look at this, we have the variable as 12. Big B, that's the area of the base. We still have a circular base. So our formula is pi r squared. Make sure you are going to your formula chart and looking it up. Don't just memorize it. And my r is the 5. So let's go ahead and solve this one. V equals 1/3 big BH. So we have 1/3. You have a calculator. So you can just enter that in, and then you have pi r squared h. 1/3. Then the pi button. And then for the r, we're going to substitute the value of 5, but it's still 5 squared. Make sure you're using that on your calculator. And then my h back over here is 12. If you enter all of that in on your calculator, that's 1/3 times pi times 5 squared times 12, you should get 314.159. And we're used to rounding to the hundredths place because when we bubble it in, we only have up to the hundredths place. 314 point, what do we have? 5 or more, add 1 more, we're going to end up with 314.16 cubic inches. All right, looks like you guys got the hang of this. Let's go ahead and move on to another one. Let's again identify our variables first. If you look right here, we have 9 as my height, and big B, area to base. We have pi r squared. Only thing is, what is my r right here? This whole thing is 4. We only need the radius. It's only asking for the radius. So the radius is half of the diameter. So that would mean that this is 2. R equals 2. Make sure you do all these steps before you just start plugging it into your calculator. Let's write the formula out. V equals 1/3 big B H. You have a calculator, so you can enter the 1/3 in on your calculator. You also have the pi r squared, which is for the big B. And then we have our h. So it's going to be 1/3 times pi times 2 squared, that's our radius, times h, which is 9, the height. If we enter all that in on our calculators, you should get 37.6991. And again, we're going to round to the hundredths place. This is my hundredths place right here. 5 or more, add 1 more. So we have 37. This 9 makes this a 0, which add 1 more. This is going to be 0.70. So 37.70 feet cubed, or what we say cubic feet. All right, you guys are getting the hang of this. This isn't that hard. You just follow the formula. These formulas are on your formula chart, so make sure you use them. Just be careful about when they give you the diameter. We're moving on to the last one now. This formula is just a little bit different, but the process is the same. This is a sphere. Same thing, they have a radius, and this is a hemisphere, which would be the half, but we're still going to do the same way. So let's go ahead and look at what we have and look at our variables. Right here, we're going to write the formula. V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And if you notice on your formula chart, it already gives you the pi r cubed. You don't need to go look it up. So if you enter this into your calculator, 4/3 times pi, and then we just have to identify what the radius is. The radius was 6. So we're going to put 6 cubed. Now you should know how to use this, the exponent, so you can make it, which is 6 times 6 times 6. So if we do that, you should have an answer of 904.778. And if we're going to round this to the hundredths place, we're going to add 5 or more. If it's 5 or more, we add 1 more. So we have 904.78 meters cubed. And the next one is a hemisphere. So again, that's meaning the same formula, but half of this. So what are we going to do? We're going to get the formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. But then don't forget, divide all of this by 2. You can either write it like this, divided by 2, or write yourself a note, divide by 2 in the end. You have a calculator, so it's more just plugging it in. So our radius is 3. So we have 4/3 times pi times 3 to the 3rd power. Once you get that answer, then you're going to divide it by 2. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll check our answer. Before I divided it by 2, I had gotten 113.10, and then I divided that by 2. So my final answer was 56.548. And around that to 56.55 meters cubed. And that concludes this. I'm not going to do this last one for you, but you should be able to go ahead and figure it out. Just going to draw you a picture. And you have the radius, which was 9. The formula. I'm doing this real quick because by now I'm just doing it so you could check your own work. Pause the video. 4/3 times pi times your 9 cubed. And you should have 3,053.63, I believe I had, inches cubed. And that concludes our lesson. If you have any questions, take your time to rewind it or stop and go back to see what you need.